What's up, guys? This is Isma again coming to you with another TryHackMe challenge. Today I'll be working on Metasploit introduction. So it'll be an introduction to the main component of Metasploit framework. We're going to move on to the task 1, introduction to Metasploit. Metasploit is the most widely used exploitation framework. Metasploit is a powerful tool that can support all phases of a penetration testing engagement, from information gathering to post-exploitation. Metasploit has two main versions: Metasploit Pro, the commercial version that facilitates automation and management of tasks. This version has a graphic user interface. And Metasploit Framework, the open source version that works from the command line. This room will focus on this version installed on the attack box and most commonly used penetration testing Linux distribution. Metasploit Framework is a set of tools that allow information gathering, scanning, exploitation, development, post-exploitation, and more. While the primary usage of Metasploit Framework focuses on the penetration testing domain, it also useful to vulnerability research and exploitation development. The main component of Metasploit Framework can summarize as follows: MS Console, the main command line interface. Modules. The supporting module supports as exploits, scanners, payloads, and etc. Tools. Standalone tools that will help vulnerability research, vulnerability assessments, or penetration testing. Some of these tools are MSV Venom, patterns, create patterns, offset. We'll cover MSF Venom with this module, but pattern/create and pattern/offset are tools useful in exploit development, which is beyond the scope of this module. This one will cover the main components of Metasploit while providing you with a solid foundation on how to find relevant exploits, set parameters, and exploit vulnerable services on the target system. Once you have completed this room, you will be able to navigate and use the Metasploit command line comfortably. You can deploy and use the attack box to complete tasks and answer the questions. Main components of Metasploit. While using the Metasploit frameworks, you will primarily interact with the Metasploit console. You can launch it from the attack box terminal using the MSF console command. The console will be your main interface to interact with the different modules of Metasploit framework. Modules are small components within the Metasploit framework that are built to perform a specific task, such as exploiting a vulnerability, scanning a target, or performing a brute force attack. Before diving into modules, it would be helpful to clarify a few recurring concepts: vulnerability, exploit, and payload. Exploit: a piece of code that uses a vulnerability present on the target system. Vulnerability: a design, coding, or logic flaw affecting the system. The exploitation of a vulnerability can result in disclosing confidential information or allowing the attackers to execute code on the target system. Payload: an exploit will take advantage of vulnerability. However, if we want the exploit to have the results we want, gaining access to the target system, read confidential information, etc. I'm sorry, guys, if you hear me yawning. I am very tired today, and I am drinking this coffee to keep me up. But nonetheless, we'll keep going. We need to use a payload. Payloads are the code that will run on the target system. Modules and categories. under each one are listed below. These are given for reference purpose, but you will interact with them throughout the Metasploit console, MSF console. Auxiliary. Any supporting modules such as scanners, crawlers, and fuzzers can be found here. And here it's giving you the example of what it's talking about. Encoders. Encoders will allow you to encode the exploit and payload in the hope that a signature-based antivirus solution may miss them. Signature-based antivirus and security solutions have database of known threats. They detect threats by comparing suspicious files to this database and raise an alert if there is a match. Thus, encoders can have limited success rates as antivirus solutions can perform additional checks. Evasion. While encoders will encode the payload, they should not be considered a direct attempt to evade antivirus software. On the other hand, evasion modules will try that with more or less success. Exploits. Neatly organized by the target system. NOPS. No operation. Do not literally are represented in the Intel x86 CPU family with 0x90, following which the CPU will do nothing for one cycle. They are often used as a buffer to achieve a consistent payload sizes. Payloads. Payloads are codes that will run on the target system. Exploits will leverage a vulnerability on the target system, but to achieve the desired results, we will need a payload. Examples could be getting a shell loading malware or backdoor to the target system, running a command, or launching calc .exe as proof of concept to add to the penetration test report. Starting the calculator on the target system remotely by launching the calc .exe application in the beginning way to show that we can run commands on the target system. Running commands on the target system is already an important step, but having an interactive connection that allows you to type commands will be executed on the target system is better, such as interactive commands line called shell. Metasploit offers the ability to send different payloads that can open shells on the target system. You will set 4 different directions under payloads, adapters, single stagers, and stages. Adapters and adapter wrap singles payloads to convert them into different formats. For example, a normal single payload can be wrapped inside a PowerShell adapter, which will make a single PowerShell command that will execute the payload. Singles. Self-contained payloads add user, launch notepads.exe, etc. that do not need to download additional components to run. Stagers. Responsible for setting up a connection channel between Metasploit and the target system. Useful when working with staged payloads. Staged payloads will first upload a stager on the target system, then download the rest of the payload. This provides some advantages as the initial size of the payload will be relatively small compared to the full payload set at once. Stages downloaded by the stager. This will allow you to use larger size payloads. Metasploit has subtle ways to help you identify single, also called inline payloads, and staged payloads. Generic /shell /reverse /TCP. Windows x64 slash shell slash shell slash under. I'm not even sure. I believe this is underscore TCP. I'll have to research this. I'm sorry if I'm messing it up, but it's this right here on the screen. Both are reverse Windows shells. The former is an inline or single payload as indicated by the. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and figure this out. Not that right there. Underscore. So this is called an underscore. Well, the more you know, guys. Anyways, so both are reverse Windows shells. The former is an inline or single payload as indicated by the underscore between shell and reverse, while the latter is stage payload as indicated by the slash between shell and reverse. Post modules will be useful on a final stage of the penetration testing process listed above post exploitation. If you wish to familiarize yourself with these modules, you can find them under the module folder or Metasploit installation. For the attack box, these are under opt Metasploit slash. Not even sure what this is called either. Framework. This is a slash for sure. Embedded slash framework slash modules. Moving on to answer the questions below. What is the name of the code taking advantage of a flaw on the target system? That's an exploit. What is the name of the code that runs on the target system to achieve the attacker's goal? That is a payload. What are self-contained payloads called? That's singles. It's Windows slash times 64 slash pigback underscore reverse underscore TCP among singles or stage payloads. And that is singles, the answer for that. Moving on to MSF console. Has a cow, that's funny. As previously mentioned, the console will be your main interface to the Metasploit framework. You can launch it using the MSF console command on your attack box, terminal, or any systems. The Metasploit framework is installed on. Once launched, you will see the command line change to MSF6 or MSF5 depending on the installed version of Metasploit. The Metasploit console MSF console can be used just like regular command line shell. As you can see below, the first command is ls, which lists contents of folders from Metasploit was launch the MSF console command. We will type this in MSF. Moving on to, while on the subject, the help command can be used on its own or for a specific command below. The menu for the set command we'll cover soon. But yeah, just earlier I was talking about this, the whole ls thing. I'm sorry, I might have skipped something. Look, but ours is a duck. It will support most Linux commands, including clear to the terminal screen, but will allow you to use Some features of a regular command line does not support output direction as below. I might have skipped a lot actually, which I don't think I did. So I'm gonna move on to this. You can use the history command to see commands you have typed earlier. The important feature of MSF console is the support of tab completion. This will come in a handy later when using Metasploit command or dealing with modules. For example, if you start typing he and press the tab key, you will see the autocomplete to help. MSF console is managed by the context. This means that unless a set global variable, all parameters settings will be lost. If you change the module you have decided to use in the example below, we have used the MS17 underscore 010 underscore is eternal blue exploit, and we have set parameters such as our host. If we're to switch to another module port scanner, we would need to set our host values again, as all challenges we have made remain in the context. The MS17 underscore 010 internal blue exploit. Let's look at the examples below to have a better understanding of this feature. We will use the MS17/010 eternal blue exploit for illustration purposes. Once you type the use exploit /windows/smb/ms17/010/eternal blue command, you will see command line prompt change from MSF to MSF6 exploit windows/smv/ms17 underscore 010 underscore eternal blue. The eternal blue is an exploit allegedly developed by the U.S. National Security Agency (NSA) for vulnerability affecting the SMV1 server on numerous Windows systems. The SMV server managed block is widely used window network for the file sharing and even for sending files to printers. Eternal Blue was leaked by the cybercriminal group Shadow Brokers in April 2017. In May 2017, the vulnerability was explored worldwide in the WannaCry ransom attack. The module to be used can also be selected with the use command followed by the number at the beginning of the search result line. The prompt tells us we now have a context set in which we will work. You can see this by typing the option command. This will print options related to the exploit we have chosen earlier. The shows options command will have different outputs depending on the context it is used. In the example above shows that this exploit will require we set variables like our host and our port. On the other hand, a post-exploitation module may only need us to set a session ID. See the screenshot below. A session is existing connection to the target system that post-exploitation module will use. The command can be in any context followed by a module type auxiliary payload exploit to list available modules examples. Below list payloads that can be used with the MS17/010 external blue. For right now, I will just shorten this. If used from the MSF console, prompt the show command will list all modules. The use and show option commands we have set so far are identical for modules Metasploit. You can leave the context using the back command. Further information on any module can be obtained by typing the info command within the context. And basically just all this that I'm going over is just telling you like examples of how it should look. Alternatively, you can use the info command by the module path from the MSF console prompt info / window smv ms17 010 eternal blue. Info is not a help menu. It will display detailed information modules such as other author relevant sources and relevant sources. Search. One of the most useful commands in MSF console is search. This command will search Metasploit framework database for modules relevant to the given search parameters. You can conduct searches using CVE numbers, exploit names, Eternal Blue, Heartbleed, etc. or target systems. The output of the search command provides an overview of each return module. You may notice the name column already gives more information than just the module name. You can see the type of module, auxiliary, exploit, and the category of the module, scanner, admin, window, Unix, and etc. You can use any module return in a search result with the command use followed by the number at the beginning of the result line. Use 0 instead of use auxiliary /admin /smb /ms17 _010 command. Another essential piece of information return return is in the rank column. Exploits are rated based on their reliability. The table below provides their respective descriptions. Now I'll be going over the ranking and the description. Excellent ranking. The exploit will never crash the service. This is the case for SQL injection, SMD execution, RFI, LFI. No typical memory corruption. Exploits should be given the ranking unless there are extraordinary circumstances. WMF escape. Great rankings. The exploit has default target and either auto-detects the appropriate target or uses an application-specific return address after a version check. Good ranking. The exploit has a default target and it is the common case for this type of software. English Windows 7 for desktop app, 2012 for server. Normal ranking. The exploit is otherwise reliable but depends on specific versions and can't or doesn't reliably auto-detect. Average ranking. The exploit is generally unreliable or difficult to exploit. Low ranking. The exploit is nearly impossible to exploit or under 50% success rate for common platforms. Manual ranking. The exploit is unstable or difficult to exploit and is basically a DOS. This ranking is also used when module has no use unless specifically configured by the user. You can direct the search function using keywords such as a type and platform. For example, if we wanted to our search result to only include auxiliary modules, we could set the type to auxiliary. The screenshot below shows the output of the search type auxiliary telnet command. So we have the MSF6 greater sign search type auxiliary telnet. Please remember that exploits take advantage of vulnerability on the target system and may always show up unexpected behavior. A low-ranking exploit may work perfectly, and an excellent ranked exploit may not, or worse, crash the target system. Moving on to answer the questions below. How would you search for a module related to Apache? And that's search Apache. Who provided the auxiliary /scanner /SSH underscore, I believe it is underscore, login module, and that's TODB. Let's move on to task 4. You can launch the target machine attached to this room to replicate the examples shown below. Any Metasploit version 5 or 6 will have menus and screens similar to those here, so you can use the attack box or any operating system installed on your local computer. Once you have entered the context of a module using the use command followed by the name as seen earlier, you will need to set parameters. The most common parameters you will use are listed. Remember, based on modules you use, additional or different parameters may need to be set. It is good practice to use show options command list required parameters. Alright, we can do it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it, but it's not really much of a challenge. It's more so just going with along with the modules. That's why I haven't really been showing y'all much. The regular command prompt, you can use Metasploit command here. The MSF console prompt, MSF6 or MSS5 depending on your installed version, is the MSF console prompt. As you can see, no context is set here, so context specific commands to set parameters and run modules cannot be used here. A context prompt, once you have decided to use a module and use the set command to choose, the MSF console will show the context. You can use the context specific command, set our host, and basically your IP address would be here. The meter parameter is an important payload we will see in the details later in this module. This means the meter parameter agent was loaded to the target system, connected back to you. You can use meter parameter specific commands here. A shell on the target system. Once the exploit is completed, you may have access to command shell on the target system. This is a regular command line, and all commands typed here run on the target system. As mentioned earlier, the show options command will list available parameters. And right here is the command to do that. As you can see in the screenshot above, some of these parameters require a value for the exploit to work. Some parameters values will pre-populate. Make sure you check these should remain the same for your target. For example, a web exploit could have our port, remote port, the port of the target system. Metasploit will try to connect and run the exploit value preset to 80, but your target web application could be using port 8080. This is an example. This is an example. We will set the our host parameter to IP address of our target system using the set command. So basically right here is showing us MSF6 exploit, Windows/SMB/MS17_010_ eternal blue. Then they close it. Creator signs set our host IP address. But in the meantime, we will go just through one. What the fuck? I'm not sure why it was not working. Could be my spelling. Oh yeah, it's my spelling. Sorry about that, guys. Make sure you check your spelling. While that loads, I'll continue to read. So moving on to this part. Once you have a set parameter, you can use the show options command to check the value was set correctly. However, since this decided to populate, we'll just do this real quick. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do this right here. Something like this. I'll do exploit. And my shit's not working today. Oh yeah, I forgot something. Although I don't think this will work, but I'm gonna have to do some research on it later on. Just exactly what I thought would happen. Nothing. Alright guys. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go through this. Parameters you will often use are our host, remote host, the IP address of the target system. A single IP address or a network range can be set. This will support the SIDR class inter-domain routing notation /24 or /16 or a network range from 10.10.10 10.10.10. You can also use files where targets are listed on the target per line using file/path/of/target_file.txt as you can see below. R port, remote port, the port of the target system. The vulnerable application is the payload. The payload you will use with exploit. L host, localhost, the attacking machine, your attack box or Kali Linux IP address. L port, local port, the port you will use for the reverse shell to connect back to this is a port on your attacking machine, and you can set it to any port not used by any other applications. I'm just gonna try something real quick. I'm just interested in what would happen. Session. Each connection established to the target system using Metasploit will have a session ID. You will use this with post exploitation modules that will connect to the target system using an existing connection. You can override any set parameters using the set command. Again, with a different value, you can also clear any parameters value using unset command, or unclear all set parameters with the unset all command. You can use the setg command and two set values that will be used for all modules. The setg command is used like set command. The difference is that if you use the setg command, the set command to set a value using a module, and you switch to another module, you will need to set value again. The setg command allows you to set the value so it can be used by default across different modules. You can clear any value set with setg using unsetg. The example below uses the following flow. We use the ms17 _010 _eternal blue exploitable. We set the rhost variable using the setg command instead of the set command. We use the back command to leave the exploit context. Then we use an auxiliary. This module is a scanner to discover ms17 / I don't even know what this means, but 010 vulnerabilities. The show options command shows the rhost parameter is ready, populated with the IP address of the target system. So basically what we were just talking about is what we're seeing right here. The setg command sets a global value that will be used until you exit Metasploit or clear it using the unsetg command. Using modules. Once all module parameters are set, you can launch the module using the exploit command. Metasploit also supports the run command, which is an alias created for the exploit command, as the word exploit did not make sense when using modules that were not exploits, port scanners, vulnerability scanners. The exploit command can be used without any parameter or using the /z parameter. The exploit -z command will run the exploit background the session as soon as it opens. It's this what it's talking about right here. This will return you to the context prompt from which you have run the exploit. Some modules support the check options. This will check if the target system is vulnerable without exploiting. I'm sorry about that. Without exploiting it. Sessions. Once a vulnerability has been successfully exploited, a session will be created. This is the communication channel established between the target systems and Metasploit. You can use the background command to background the sessions prompt and go back to the MSF console prompt. Alternatively, Control+Z can be used background sessions. The session command can be used from the MSF console prompt or any context to see the existing sessions. To interact with any sessions, you can use the session, this sign I. I'm gonna call it a -I. I'm not sure, that's just what we learn in school. Command followed by the desired session number. Anyways, guys, we have reached the bottom. Thank you for bearing with me. I do promise to get better. Answer the questions below. How would you set the L port value to 6666, and that's set L port to 6666, four sixes, guys. How would you set the global value for our host to 10.10.19.23, and that would be set G our host to 10.10.19.23. What command would you use to clear a set payload? On set payload, what command do you use to proceed with the exploitation phase? And that's exploit. However, I did do some research earlier. I just want to see if I could make something happen real quick for y'all. So I sure did, but I just did not record it. However, this is fine. We're just getting started with this one, and in the next video of mine, I'll dive more deep onto Metasploit. So I'm gonna wrap it up with the summary. As we have seen so far, Metasploit is a powerful tool that facilitates the exploitation process. The exploitation process comprises three main steps: finding the exploit, customizing the exploit, and exploiting the vulnerable service. Metasploit provides many modules that you can use for each step of the exploitation process. Through this room, we have seen basic components of Metasploit and their respective use. It would be best if you also had used the MS17_010_ blue exploit to gain access to the target virtual machine. In the following rooms, we will cover Metasploit and its components in more detail. Once completed, this module should give you a good understanding of the capabilities of Metasploit. For the answer to the questions below, there is no answer needed. And just like that, it's another YouTube video. Thank you, guys.